We live in a world where everyone wants to be seen, heard, and validated. Social media tells us that success is about how many people notice us. But what if the real path to success is the opposite? What if the best way forward is to focus on yourself and stay silent? The truth is, progress doesn't happen in the spotlight. It happens in the quiet moments when no one is watching, when there's no applause, when it's just you and your work. The most successful people aren't the loudest in the room. They're the ones quietly building something while others are busy seeking attention. Imagine a tree growing. It doesn't announce every inch of growth. It simply takes in what it needs, water, sunlight, nutrients, and grows. When the time is right, it stands tall, strong, and unshakable. That's how we should approach our journey. Silence is a superpower. It gives you the space to learn, to refine your craft, to build without distraction. Every time you talk about what you're going to do, you release a little of that energy into the world. But when you keep it to yourself, you stay focused. You keep your energy where it matters, on the work itself. Think about the great innovators, the leaders, the change makers. They didn't spend their time explaining their plans to everyone. They acted. They let their results do the talking. And when the world finally noticed, they were already 10 steps ahead. So today I challenge you, focus on yourself. Stay silent. Work in the dark so that when the light shines, you're not just ready for it, you're unstoppable. We live in a world that constantly demands our attention. Everywhere we turn, there's noise, people talking, opinions flying, expectations piling up. We are told that in order to be successful, we must be seen, heard, and acknowledged. But what if that's not true? What if the real key to success, growth, and fulfillment is not in how much noise we make, but in how much focus we cultivate? What if, instead of seeking validation from the world, we turned inward and worked in silence? The most powerful transformations happen when no one is watching. Think about the strongest, most resilient forces in nature. A seed does not announce that it is growing. It does not seek permission to push through the soil. It simply absorbs what it needs: water, sunlight, nutrients, and does the work. It grows in silence, unnoticed, until one day it stands tall as a tree, firm and unshakable. That is the process of true success. Quiet, patient, and disciplined. The problem is we are conditioned to crave recognition. We want others to know how hard we're working, how much effort we're putting in. We feel the need to explain ourselves, to justify our ambitions, to prove that we are on the right path. But in doing so, we waste valuable energy. Every moment spent trying to convince others of our worth is a moment not spent becoming more valuable. Every word spoken about what we plan to do is energy taken away from actually doing it. Some of the most successful individuals in history were not the ones constantly talking about their plans. They were the ones who quietly worked, refining their craft, showing up day after day, even when no one noticed. They understood that success is not about being seen in the beginning. It's about being undeniable in the end. The loudest person in the room is not always the smartest, the strongest, or the most capable. More often than not, it's the quiet one, the one listening, learning, and preparing, who makes the biggest impact. When you focus on yourself and stay silent, you give yourself the space to grow. You eliminate distractions. You stop worrying about what others think and start paying attention to what truly matters: your work, your goals, your progress. You begin to move with purpose instead of seeking approval. And the best part? When you stop looking for recognition, you free yourself from the fear of failure. You're no longer performing for an audience, so you can take risks, make mistakes, and learn without judgment. Think about the times in your life when you have been the most productive, the most creative, the most driven. Were you announcing every step to the world, or are you deeply immersed in your work, focused on the process rather than the perception? The truth is, results speak louder than words. When you let your actions do the talking, you command respect without ever having to ask for it. People start to notice, not because you told them to, but because your progress is impossible to ignore. So the challenge I leave you with today is this: focus on yourself, stay silent, don't waste time explaining your vision, build it. Don't seek approval. Prove yourself through action. The most successful people don't need to be loud. Their work, their discipline, and their results do all the speaking for them. And when the time comes when you finally step into the light, you won't just be prepared, you'll be unstoppable. Silence is misunderstood. We live in a world that rewards loudness, constant updates, endless opinions, and the need to be noticed. We're told that if we want to be successful, we have to make ourselves heard, that if we don't announce our plans, we might never get anywhere. But what if the opposite were true? What if real strength came not from speaking, but from knowing when to stay silent? What if the loudest statement you could make was the one spoken through your action? Too often we feel the urge to explain ourselves. We want people to know what we're working on, to recognize our potential, to validate our efforts. But in chasing that recognition, we give away our focus. Every time we explain our next move, we invite distraction. We open ourselves up to opinions, doubts, and unnecessary expectations. Instead of using that energy to build, we waste it trying to justify why we're building in the first place. Think about the most successful people you know. The real achievers aren't the ones constantly talking about what they're going to do. They are the ones already doing it. They are the ones who stay focused, who block out the noise, who understand that progress happens behind closed doors. The most powerful individuals in any field don't seek attention. They attract it naturally through their dedication and results. But silence isn't just about avoiding distractions. It's about developing a deep sense of self-discipline. When you stop broadcasting your plans, you create a commitment to yourself. You're no longer seeking motivation from external sources. Instead, you hold yourself accountable. And that's where true progress happens. Not in the validation of others, but in the quiet moments when you push forward because you promised yourself you would. The world is filled with people who talk about what they're going to do. Few actually do it. And the reason is simple. Talking is easy. Execution is hard. It requires patience, resilience, and an ability to persist even when no one is watching. It's easy to seek shortcuts, to look for ways to gain quick recognition, but those who truly succeed understand that the journey isn't about being seen in the beginning, it's about being undeniable in the end. So why stay silent? Because silence gives you power. It allows you to refine your ideas without interference. It keeps you from second-guessing yourself based on someone else's doubts. It helps you build confidence from within instead of depending on external validation. And when the time is right, when you've put in the work, the results will speak so loudly that you won't need to say a word. The world notices those who don't ask for attention. It respects those who focus on their craft instead of their image. So instead of trying to prove yourself through words, prove yourself through action. Instead of announcing your goals, accomplish them. Instead of seeking validation, let your success be the proof of your discipline and commitment. The choice is yours. Be someone who talks or be someone who does. Those who talk may get attention for a moment, but those who do will be remembered forever. There is power in silence. In a world where everyone is speaking, posting, and seeking attention, silence has become rare. We've been conditioned to believe that the louder we are, the more successful we will become. That if we don't constantly announce our plans, we might be forgotten. But the truth is, those who truly make an impact do not waste their energy trying to be noticed. They focus on their work, stay disciplined, and let their results speak for them. Too often, people mistake silence for weakness. They assume that if you're not constantly talking about your goals, you're not ambitious enough. But that couldn't be further from the truth. The most powerful individuals in any field are those who move in silence. They don't need to explain themselves, they don't seek permission, they just do the work, and when the time is right, the world takes notice. The reason silence is so effective is simple. It keeps you focused. Every time you share your plans, you invite distractions. You open the door to doubt, to opinions that might shake your confidence, to expectations that add unnecessary pressure. And often, the more you talk about what you're going to do, the less likely you are to actually do it. Why? Because talking about your goals can create a false sense of accomplishment. It tricks your brain into feeling like progress is being made, when in reality, nothing has changed. The people who succeed are the ones who understand that success is built in private. It happens in the early mornings when no one is watching. It happens in the late nights when no one is clapping. It happens in the moments of self-doubt when you push forward anyway, not because someone is cheering you on, but because you are committed to yourself. It's easy to look at successful people and assume that they had support, that they had people who believed in them from the start. But more often than not, the opposite is true. Many of them were ignored, doubted, or even laughed at. But instead of explaining themselves, instead of trying to convince people of their vision, they stayed silent. They let their work do the talking. And when the results came, no one could deny their greatness. Staying silent isn't about hiding, it's about protecting your energy. It's about recognizing that not everyone needs to know your plans, that not every thought needs to be shared, that sometimes the best thing you can do is simply focus, work, and allow your success to be your response. This doesn't mean you should never speak. There will be moments when you need to share your vision, when you need to collaborate, when you need to step into the spotlight. But those moments should come after the work has been done, not before. Because when you've truly put in the effort, when you've built something real, you won't need to convince anyone of your value. It will be obvious. The world is full of noise, people talking, arguing, trying to prove themselves. But the ones who rise above it all, the ones who truly succeed, are the ones who understand the value of silence. They know that words are cheap, but actions are priceless. They know that real progress isn't made through announcements, but through discipline, patience, and relentless execution. So today, I challenge you, focus on yourself. Stay silent. Don't waste time explaining your dreams to those who won't understand them. Don't seek validation from people who haven't walked your path. Just do the work. Stay committed. And when the time comes, let your success be the loudest thing in the room. We live in a world where everyone is in a rush to be seen and heard. Social media conversations and daily interactions are filled with people trying to prove themselves, trying to explain their plans, their dreams, and their ambitions. But the truth is, the ones who truly succeed are not the ones who constantly talk about what they are going to do. They're the ones who put their heads down, focus on their work, and allow their results to speak for them. When you focus on yourself and stay silent, you take control of your energy. Every time you announce your goals, you open yourself up to unnecessary pressure. People will have opinions. Some will doubt you. Some will criticize you. Some will expect you to prove yourself faster than you are ready. And instead of working on your craft, you end up working on their expectations. You end up explaining yourself instead of building something worth explaining. Silence is not weakness. It is a strategy. The strongest individuals do not move with noise. They move with intention. They are not distracted by the need to be understood. They don't waste time debating their plans. They simply act. They execute. And when the results come, they don't need to say a word because their success speaks for itself. Think about the most influential figures in history. The greatest inventors, entrepreneurs, and leaders did not spend their time convincing people that their ideas would work. They built, they experimented, they failed in private, learned in private, and improved in private. And then when the world finally noticed, they were ready. They were prepared because they had spent their time focusing, not talking. But silence is difficult. It is tempting to seek validation. It is tempting to announce our plans so that others can encourage us. It feels good to be recognized, to be acknowledged, but that kind of recognition is temporary. It does not lead to real success. The ones who achieve the most are the ones who stay focused long enough to actually accomplish something before seeking applause. The greatest advantage of staying silent is that it allows you to eliminate distractions. It gives you the space to work without interference. It helps you avoid unnecessary opinions that can shake your confidence. When you are quiet, you are free to make mistakes, to experiment, to grow without the fear of judgment. You are free to focus on progress rather than perception. Another reason to stay silent is that it builds discipline. It forces you to rely on yourself rather than the approval of others. You need people to believe in you before you take action. You will always be dependent on them. But if you can believe in yourself in silence without anyone watching, without anyone cheering, then you have already won. Because success is not about external validation, it is about internal commitment. The difference between those who talk and those who act is simple. Talkers spend their energy seeking attention. Doers spend their energy building something worth paying attention to. And in the end, it is not the ones who talk the most that are remembered. It is the ones who stayed consistent, disciplined, and focused. So today I challenge you, resist the urge to explain yourself. Resist the need to seek approval. Stop telling people what you are going to do and just do it. Stay silent. Focus on yourself, improve in private, And when the time comes, let your work speak so loudly that you won't have to say a word. There is a quiet power in focusing on yourself and staying silent. In a world that constantly demands attention, where everyone is in a hurry to be noticed, the greatest advantage often lies in restraint. We are conditioned to believe that success is about being seen, that if we do not talk about our plans, we will be forgotten. But the truth is, real success is not about making noise. It is about making progress. When you focus on yourself, you take full responsibility for your growth. You stop worrying about what others think, and you begin to invest your time and energy in things that truly matter. Too many people waste their potential by seeking validation, by trying to prove themselves before they have actually accomplished anything. They spend so much time explaining what they are going to do that they never actually do it. Talking about your dreams is easy. Executing them is hard. And the ones who succeed are not the ones who talk the most, but the ones who work in silence. There is a reason why the most successful people are often the quietest in the room. They understand that progress happens when you are focused, not when you are distracted by the opinions of others. Every time you announce your goals, you invite unnecessary pressure. People will judge, doubt, or even try to discourage you. And if you let their words affect you, you risk losing momentum. The strongest people do not seek permission. They do not explain themselves. They move forward with confidence, knowing that the only validation they need comes from their results. Silence is not about secrecy. It is about strategy. It is about understanding that not everyone needs to know your plan. Some things are better built in private, away from the noise and distractions of the world. When you work in silence, you give yourself the space to learn, to experiment, and to fail without fear. You remove the unnecessary expectations that come with public declarations, and you give yourself the freedom to grow at your own pace. Staying silent also builds discipline. It forces you to rely on yourself rather than external motivation. When you stop seeking recognition, you learn to stay committed even when no one is watching. And that is the difference between those who succeed and those who do not. Discipline. The ones who achieve their goals are the ones who keep going even when there is no applause, no encouragement, and no immediate rewards. They understand that progress is a slow and often lonely journey, but they embrace it because they know the destination is worth it. If you want to achieve something great, you must be willing to work for it in silence. Do not waste your energy explaining yourself. Do not seek approval from people who do not understand your vision. The time will come when your results will speak for you, and when that moment arrives, you will not need to say a word. History remembers those who took action, not those who talked about taking action. The world respects those who produce results, not those who seek attention. So instead of trying to prove yourself through words, prove yourself through effort. Instead of announcing your goals, achieve them. Instead of seeking validation, stay focused on the process. The most powerful thing you can do is to move in silence and let success be your voice. Because in the end, it is not the ones who shouted the loudest that are remembered. It is the ones who did the work, stayed consistent, and became unstoppable.